And we're back.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Are back.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much for watching another episode of Talking Upstream. My name is Zach, and this is Dylan over here. And collectively and together, a lot of the time, we are some nobodies. And this is our website kind of up here behind me. You can check out all the weird stuff that we do. You might have listened to one of our weird podcasts. You might have seen Dylan show up on a D&D podcast where you might have seen me on Jeff Waskin's show. You might have watched this show many, many times, and we appreciate it. Either way, we are just content creators. We like to think of weird stories that we haven't seen before and explore them and hopefully make them into something. And obviously, the show's called Talking Upstream because what we're trying to do is talk ourselves up to a streaming service. We are trying to sell out aggressively and quickly because we need that money. We can
desperately.
Use that money. Dylan, until we get that money, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. It's been a weird week, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Now, if you don't know, we live in Colorado, and it has been weird temperatures this week. It has been record-breaking highs, kind of chilly at nighttime. It's been weird.
Yeah.
And it is.
It's supposed to snow this week, so
yes. I love Colorado.
I'll take it. Whatever.
Whatever.
We need it. Everybody says we need it.
We need it. We need it before the fires come. Okay, so if you were watching last week, we had an amazing guest. We had an amazing
Zach. How are you?
Hey, you know, that's the one thing I like about you. You always take your time and make sure that my mental health is. I'm great. I'm always great.
Okay, cool.
Living the dream. But let me get back into it.
Sure.
Yeah, I am great. Thank you very much for asking, Dylan. Last week we had a great show. Mr. Drake now was on. We came up with a very cool concept, which I ended up being. I was having a lot of fun.
That's a good one.
Cool. But we have a very special guest this week, and I'm super excited. So, Dylan, do you want to please introduce our guest this week?
Sure. So this week we are joined by Jess Paul. She is an actor, a writer, producer. She has a bunch of short films, and I'm going to let her talk about the specifics now.
Hello!
Oh, there she is.
Hello, Jess Paul. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm living in my own little galaxy and enjoying the Talking Upstream. You're basically creating a new story to not only enjoy, but to explore. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing the galaxy because that is the best place to explore. I chose a library. Dylan chose a where are you?
A writer's desk in his home office.
It's my den. It's my lair.
Den. Oh, cool. Yeah, right on. So, Miss Jess Paul,
I can't afford a tower yet.
I know, man. We're working on it. We'll
get
to that later. But Miss Jess Paul, do you want to tell our friends and family like what you're into? What are you up to these days?
Oh my God, I'm into too many things, really. Like I've maxed out on all the hours of the day in which I can, do all the things that I want to do, include making fake food hair accessories. But I have a variety YouTube show that's really bad for my brand because it's like 10 different topics and there's no one that's possibly interested in all the same things I am. But I'm an actor. I'm a producer. I live in Los Angeles in order to be those things during the pandemic. Not very helpful, but I am enjoying my time here. I'm enjoying my life. And if anyone else is interested in my life, all you have to do is Google Jess Paul or find me on any of my socials at This Is Jess Paul, but you won't go there. You don't know me yet. We're going to get to do that this episode.
Yeah, at the end of this,
Yeah.
please stop. Don't watch the end of this. Go check out all of Jess Paul's amazing artwork. She does some very, very cool stuff. I actually met her on a different show called Talk Creative to Me, where she was showing off a lot, like beautiful pieces of pie that you could wear on your head and donuts.
I can show you guys here. I mean, listen. I am the kid that shows their mom every single piece of crap so that she'll put it on the fridge. Like I'm that person. So here's the pie I think you were referring to.
Whoa.
This super realistic. Yeah.
Yeah. God, it's beautiful.
While in Hollywood, I want to try to contribute as much as possible. So I sell to sometimes movies, sometimes stage plays. Very, very famously, fake pies are bought off the internet for the show The Waitress on Broadway. I didn't sell mine to Broadway. I sold mine to a drag queen who was doing a number from The Waitress, which is honestly better in my opinion. I'm much more proud of that. So this one went there, and I have tons of other things, but of course I didn't have the foresight to move them all towards me to show them off. But you guys get the picture. If you want to see more, you can Google Jess Paul art, which it will bring you there. It will bring you to all my fake food on Etsy, and you'll enjoy it hopefully.
Yes, and I have stalked it, and I have drooled over some inedible things. So
that's the best compliment when somebody's saying that like they're so upset that they can't eat my food. It's like, I feel you. I honestly get hungry. I just had donuts today. I have Sunday donuts every Sunday for the most part, and actually, funny story. One time at the same donut place that I go and eat my Sunday donuts, they gave me the wrong one. Like they put it in the bag, without me seeing. And it was just like a regular glazed donut. Cause when I go, I like to get a little bit jazzy, I like to find the really unique ones. Cause so what I did is I brought the donut home, put it in a container, put it in my closet and petrified it for 2 weeks. Then I made a silicone mold of it. One of my best-selling products. I sell real molded donuts. Here, I'll show you it. It's over in the corner that I didn't get.
Yeah, she just leaves food.
So here's a tower of donuts.
Wow.
These are something that I make. I need to put my earphone in to hear you guys laugh and enjoy of my donuts. So
wow.
So we've got breakfast cereal, recognized. Yeah. We've got, for those people who like blue flavored stuff, and the classic pink sprinkle. This is the most popular. This is very, very
Simpson
popular.
Donut.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. So do you sell those by the dozen or just like?
I do. I give bulk discounts for selling by the dozen.
That is wild. That is incredible.
If I can ask, what are they molded out of? Like what are they formed from?
Yes. I take both. I can sculpt out of clay food because some things you cannot put into silicone because they're like apple pie filling. You can't really mold that. So sometimes I have to make stuff out of clay, but here's a great example. So this particular donut, see, it's very perfect and round and smooth. I molded this one out of clay. I sculpted this one out of clay. This one is that petrified donut that was in my closet. So it has like a really realistic texture to it in a very organic shape. And so you cast those in silicone, fast acting silicone. And then I run them in, this is memory foam. It's squishy, it's soft, and it's very flexible. I think that if you can get a better view of my donuts. But yeah, it's memory foam, and that means it's super lightweight, it's super durable. I'm like getting a workout doing that. I'm the best salesperson for this stuff. And yeah, I basically live in a fantasy. I don't even know what adulting is really like. It's been really hard for me to figure out what I'm supposed to feel like as an adult because I'm just surrounded by make-believe every day, and I'm really grateful for that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, are like donuts and pastries, those like the best sellers, right? Because that's what people want.
Well, so I started off with donuts. And if you think about it, I try to pose this to people. Think about how many possible foods of all ethnicities there are in the world. Then think about all the variations, the colors, like take a pie. How many different pies can you name? So I started at the desserts and the bakery items, and eventually I'm just going to work my way out to as many foods as possible. There's this practice in Japan. It's called samparu, and it's kind of related, but I haven't quite reached the Japanese market because they're way across the world from me. But it's the practice of making realistic model food to put into the windows of some of their restaurants. It's very popular. And it happened when actually a lot of our soldiers were over across seas, or even maybe they weren't even American, but, foreign, they couldn't speak Japanese. And basically all they had to do was point at stuff in the case. And so I'm kind of figuring that out on my own. Those things are usually rigid and not squishy and fun and easy to throw at the wall. But I do think I have something special, and that's what I want to do in this world. Like at the end of our lives, don't we just want to offer something unique to the world, which is what you guys are doing, because you're coming up with a brand new story every single time you do the show.
Yeah, but unfortunately, none of it you can nap on. So I think you're there, because you can just fall right asleep on that stuff, which is great. And not only are you an amazing creator of delicious looking headwear, you also create movies and projects the same way that we would love to, which is not that we don't love your delicatessens.
No, I understand.
But obviously, outside of what Dylan wants to do, I would like to make some movies. So I was very interested in talking to you about your creative process. So if it's okay, we could talk about that. Now, what got you into that? Was it the desire to create something, or was it the desire to act in something, or just to be a part of it all?
Yes, I don't know how universal it is when it comes to actors that write and produce and direct, but this goes down to the bare basics of the foundation of my personality. You could have predicted this of me when I was like 2 years old, and not listening to my dad as I ventured out into the neighborhood, or making my own little play stories with my Barbies. But I always wanted to be a performer. When I was younger, I wanted to be an actor. Like when I was since I was 10 years old, I really liked it. Everybody congratulated me when I was on stage. And then as time went on, it became the art form that I respect it to be today. And then as I grew and learned about the actual filmmaking process, it was about college, because I didn't go to college for acting because I felt like that was a dumb idea. I probably make so many enemies when I say that, but to go, you would go to theater school, and I didn't want to go to theater. I wanted to be in movies. So I instead went for art school. Isn't that a better idea? But it all worked out. It really did. I do have a day job that involves my degree. I'm a graphic designer, and I basically, scrounge up some of that money and some of that, the notoriety that I get from the things that I've already done to hopefully produce the things that I want to produce. And it all does come down to, like I alluded to in the beginning of answering this question, that I realized that in this day and age, it's so easy to start a podcast, to make a low budget movie, to be picked out of the crowd to be an actor, that I always believed you have to do every single thing in your power to kind of mold your own career, and turn it into the thing that you want to make, because things are so much more accessible than they were even 10, 20 years ago, as far as filmmaking equipment, exposure to big audiences. The reason that I started acting at all after college is because I had another YouTube show called Wrecked Radio, and it became somewhat popular. And I did that from my dorm room for no money. Like, I actually am still using some of the cheap ass stuff that I bought when I was 19 years old, trying to just light myself for my bedroom talk show, where I talked about emo and pop punk music and tried to like write jokes. It was something that's basically kickstarted the whole idea of, oh, I can kind of do this myself. I don't have to let anybody, pick me out of the crowd. I don't have to sacrifice my own choices. I don't have to suck anyone's, I can do this myself. I can be my own producer. And so the things that I've produced so far and then plan to produce are things that I want to build my catalog off of. I want to, be the pilot of my own star line. And that's what I try to do every single day. Yeah.
Now, were you a concept creator before you started acting, or was that something that kind of came afterward? I mean, I know you had a podcast before, which obviously that's a bit of creation itself, but did you ever write stories or movies before you started acting, or was that afterwards?
Yeah, I'll give you the timeline. So I never had a podcast. I'm the podcast guest. I am like the universal podcast guest that's on everybody's podcast, and I never had a podcast. Maybe I will someday. But what I did is I started acting when I was like 10 years old. So the idea of wanting to be a performer was that early. YouTube didn't exist yet. Then as I was working my way up to understanding like what it meant to be a performer, what it could be, what it could look like, because there are going to be actors that are coming up right now that might never see themselves in theater and streaming, if a movie's successful, because streaming has become so prevalent. So when I saw the horizon changing for how technology works, how this entertainment industry is shifting, I realized that YouTube could be kind of an avenue. And well, I mean, separately from that, like I started the show kind of just for fun because I had gotten this not the same MacBook. That would have been a very long time ago and a very good MacBook. But I got my first MacBook when I was going into college. So it was the first time that I could listen to all this music that I never heard. I could just get it off of our download sites and stuff like that. And I fell in, and I realized I was watching YouTube shows that, they broke down some of the barriers and showed you behind the scenes, and they just had a green bed sheet hanging up behind them. Well, now you don't even need a green bed sheet. Sometimes they'll do it for you, some of these apps. But I realized oh my God. So you mean in my free time while I'm, in between studying on the days that I have off, I can make a show, and it worked out. And so they are separate but related things. I view them as very much helpful to each other. To be honest, if I wasn't a YouTuber, I would not be the performer I am today, just because I made myself, and a lot like you guys, you guys are constantly practicing and stimulating your brains for this storytelling, that this show is so much more important than I think even a lot of people understand, because a lot of people who want to call themselves writers, who want to call themselves actors, they don't practice their craft enough to actually be able to say that with honest, integrity behind it, to say that you're a practicing or a working whatever, because we just a lot of the times wait for people to give us permission. And we're now in an age this is the time where you can't be waiting for that. You have to go out and do it yourself, or else you're kind of a couple steps behind all the people that are doing it themselves.
Now, speaking of doing it yourself, Promenade, that was something that you wrote, produced, and directed and starred in, right? All four of those?
Oh, all those things.
Yeah, that's great. When did that story kind of pop into your brain? Let's start there. When did the story of Promenade, was it a writing thing first, or did you actually write it to be all of those things, to be able to produce it yourself?
Here's the story and here's the intention. So it all started when I went to Sundance. I went to Sundance in 2014 when one of the shorts that I did not produce, write, or anything like that, I just was one of the lead actors in, it went to Sundance. It was probably one of the biggest things that encouraged the rest of my career, aside from the YouTube, which was okay, that was popular and everything. But now I was in a movie that made it to Sundance. So I watched this. So basically I went to a theater in Salt Lake City, and I got to see that film on the big screen in a theater, and amongst all these people. And it was in the way that Sundance and any festival works, is that they're in a shorts block. So I got to watch my film with about 8 to 10 other short films. And I watched this one called Best. It was 3 minutes long, including it was it including the credits? Yeah, it was very short. Basically, it was like a scene. And it was so impactful to me. It was the only one that I remembered because it had drama, it had a twist built into this really constrained time frame. And I realized that if anyone wants to try their hand at acting, directing, producing, all of that, even to just direct your first film, why don't you start with something so short and easy to manage? Because as I had been acting up to that point, or in around that point, because I went to Sundance and I had experienced acting before, I had been in stuff afterwards before I, actually wrote Promenade. And I realized that people that when they're starting out, these filmmakers, they pour so much time and money into these gigantic projects that they have no reason to finish, because you have these volunteer actors that have to drop out or cut their hair or move away. You have this, this time, like you're going to your day job and you're trying to, keep these talented people together. And that just doesn't work all the time. Reality is that people have only so much time and volunteer, in their heart. I had stayed on a project for years after like the entire cast dropped out, and I just had to watch that happen. So I realized that if I wanted to try my hand at directing, because I had never before done it before Promenade, and I wanted to see what I could do in that short amount of time. And to be honest, when I was doing it and done with it, I didn't expect it, even at that point, to be like the best thing that anyone would ever watch, that they'd ever see. I wanted it to be practice. And then when I went to the festivals and had a drink with all the other directors, that, I'd say, I made Promenade, tell me how you think about it. And they would say, oh my God, it was great. I'm like, okay, but what didn't you like about it? Please tell me. I want to learn. This is my first film. Like, tell me at least one thing that you criticize about it. And then over time, I collected. This is one of my favorite ways to annotate a script, to get notes, is to give your script to multiple people of multiple ranges, like an audience member who doesn't write, an actual screenwriter peer, a mentor, a teacher, a paid service, give it out to those people and then collect all of the criticism and see which ones overlap. And that's probably the thing that you need to work on most. So Promenade was made to be my trial of just directing. And the story itself came from my first feature film that I ever wrote, again, when I was in college, 19 years old. It was called Jesse's Girl, and I still want to produce it today. Time is ticking because I will no longer be able to be the college student that's supposed to play in this. But I've always written films just to act in them. That's the main goal. That's what I did it for, and continue to do it for. If somebody wanted to buy my script and not include me in it, it basically might as well not exist, because that's just what they're for. And so Promenade was a little slice of life. It wasn't exactly the same, but I kind of cannibalized my own character and basic themes to make this 4-minute film with credits, to just make my footprint, put a little toe in the waters of filmmaking, if you will, because I had produced one feature before that, one feature after that, but I had never directed, and I produced other shorts too, but I'd never directed my own short that I had written and starred in. And so I just wanted to see what it felt like, Now,
when you write, when you get down to writing, you have an idea and you capitalize on it. A lot of people get asked like, oh, where do you come up with your ideas? Which I think is kind of a useless question. When you have an idea, how do you go about capitalizing on it and actually developing it and putting it down? Is there a specific method to it, or is it just madness put onto paper?
All of my scripts have come from different places. Jesse's Girl, I started as a trailer in my mind. I knew I was going into college, and I had known what the college looked like. And I thought about, because I was literally thinking, like, it was total just like brainstorming. I was thinking, like, if I could make a movie when I go to college, what could I do with the space that I have? Because it was the first time I was ever in this different place, this big campus. So, and I was always doing that. Like when I made shorts like that, I don't even count, back on the, like the DV cam with the tiny little cassette with my sister and my friends, we would use the stuff around the house. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I wrote Promenade the way that I wrote it, because I was like, okay, what resources do I have that are free to me, instead of writing something that I have to retrofit for like some place or some people or some resources that I don't have. So that swimming pool, if you guys have even seen the poster, you don't even have to watch the movie. That swimming pool is one of the coolest things that I've ever had in my life, because, you know, we always had a nice house in the suburbs of Pittsburgh where I grew up. You know, it was a modest house. We were, you know, middle class, but we did have an in-ground pool that I always thought was just so cool in my backyard. So I'm like, let's dress up this set to make it look like kind of a prom, and you know, put these characters in that setting. And so that's what Jesse's Girl was. I thought of the trailer and how to make a teen rom-com out of it, and then I built the story off of that and a character I wanted to play. My second feature that I ever wrote, this is going to sound cheesy, but it did come from a dream. I was dreaming. It's called Body, and it's a ghost story, and it's about a girl who can see ghosts. Okay, we've seen a lot of stories like that. And she's working with a priest, and it's in the 70s, and it has to do with a lot of these people that were killed in a cathedral, you know, being mass murdered. And that story wasn't in the dream. The dream was just like this idea that this girl, and I knew her name was Body in my dream. Her name was Body. That's just, I knew that. And she was seeing a dog barking, and she told her friend who was a priest that dog saw a ghost. And that's all I had. And my roommate woke me up because I was going to be late for class. And the only reason that I remembered that dream was because she woke me up. I thank God all the time, because I would have never, you know, written one of my favorite stories. So it comes from a lot of places of inspiration. Usually it is a character that I want to embody, because, I mean, doesn't that make sense for me, for what I've said before so far, that I write characters for myself and scenarios that I understand. My third feature that I'm not yet done with, because I'm that kind of writer that's not, you know, firstly a writer, I want to be a performer. So I've been sitting on my third script for a couple of years now, not having finished it, but it has to do with the art scene. And that's obviously where I grew up, you know, my education and being part of those kinds of people. So yeah, it comes, you know, write what you know, write what you want to be. And that's what I did. Yeah. That's the origins.
Is there a dream project you'd want to work on, or is that still kind of behind the scenes?
Well, the thing is, I get asked that a lot. You mean as a performer, as an actor?
In general.
The thing is, that question makes sense to ask a theater actor, because they can already envision the shows that have been in, you know, do you call that syndication, for years, you know,
Sure,
like
yeah.
for a century. So with a film actor, besides the ones that I've written, I don't yet know what I'd be cast for. There is a film, I keep putting this out there, but it's not been officiated yet. There's this film that I read before the quarantine and was cast in, but nothing is set in stone. And it's another ghost story. It's a ghost comedy. So that I just combined the two films that I just told you, you know, as far as thematics go. And I didn't write it. It was written by a French Canadian named Boris Cole, and I met the producer and I met him, and I'm slated to star in it, but I don't know what's going to happen after all of this shakes out. I just hope we all have an industry after we're all vaccinated. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking of which, how do you feel the movie industry is going to go after the pandemic, now that Marvel's putting out, you know, series instead of movies, and the Snyder Cut can show that people can watch a 4-hour thing over the course of a span? Do you think that's going to do anything to cinema itself?
I do not think that the modern film industry is going to suffer. It's going to shift, you know, and I'm not really completely sure in which way. You know, we saw from the Godzilla box office that people are very excited to get back to theaters. So before the pandemic, a lot of people did speculate that, you know, cinema wouldn't be a thing anymore. We're going to go to streaming. You know, all AMC had, you know, filed for bankruptcy, whatever. And I believe this is my general thought for the entire pandemic. Though it's been a harrowing journey, seeing all of the stops and starts, and, you know, it's really upsetting death tolls and everything that we've been through for the whole year. I believe that people will be ecstatic, including the ones that have been very careful during this whole thing. Like I've barely left my house but for groceries of this whole time. I actually stopped acting. I stopped auditioning during the pandemic just because the things that I'm auditioning for, because I've only been in Los Angeles for a year. They're not really worth, getting the COVID virus over, possibly dying or being hospitalized or spreading it to people that are close to me. So I took the year not off. I was working very hard to save money at my day job, but from acting. Yeah. And I'm, as soon as I get my vaccine, I'm going to be emailing my agent. I'm back. Send auditions.
Yeah. Now, going back to writing, are you someone that has a lot of weird ideas that you keep kind of cataloging and then go back to them? Or do you have the kind of brain where you're like, I need to focus on this one script that I've been working on for a while now, and you put most of your mental effort into one project? Or are you like me, where it's just like 90 ideas every single day and you lose toilet paper that you're writing on?
Okay. So yeah, that's a good question. I usually don't have a whole lot of projects that I'm working on at one time. If I think I'm going to do something with it, I start hustling. Like when I learned that I was possibly going to be pitching Jesse's Girl to a producer, I did a big, draft over, made all kinds of changes, and then paid my friend $300 to create the budget, like any kind of budget for it, so that I could present it. And so when I get those kinds of offers, I just kind of hustle. It's really bad to do that kind of thing last minute. But yeah, I guess there's a couple things that I overlap, but usually I try to work on something to make it whole and to make it marketable. Like, how I said I thought of the trailer for Jesse's Girl before I thought of the rest. I always have marketing in the back of my mind. That's actually what I went to school for. The reason that I went to my school, West Virginia Wesleyan University, for design, was because I was trying to find a school that would combine the two things that I wanted to do, which was kind of marketing and design. So like, marketing, advertising, or something like marketing design. And so whenever I think about that, I think of like, what does the pitch sound like? What does the poster look like? What audience would this be best for? And Promenade and Jesse's Girl being LGBT, it kind of exists within that audience. Our world is getting so big, and I know this through the idea of YouTube, that we think that our success is going to level, like our absolute pipe dream success is going to level on being the most known person in the entire English speaking world, an A-list celebrity. But as I'm going through my life and exploring this world that I call being a creative professional, I'm realizing that it's a lot more about finding your community, and they can be big and they can be small, they can be vast and specific. And so my goals have shifted from becoming like some kind of pipe dream A-list celebrity to just finding the people that appreciate the kind of stories I'm telling and those people that relate to it, because it's not going to be everybody. You can't hook everybody with your story if they are not in your demographic. So I'm constantly trying to find those like-minded people and to create kind of relationships that are a little bit more substantial than a lot of little ones that are meh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, when it comes to like creating more projects and, actually being an actor or just, attaching yourself to projects, is there like a central theme that you like to kind of keep within, or are you just trying to build up until you can just start doing everything that you would like to do?
Zach, you have so many good questions. Thank you for being such a great interviewer. But I like to do a little bit of everything. I created this card that my agent didn't appreciate at all, that had a bunch of pictures of all the different characters that I've ever played. Like when I dye my hair, I look like a different person, and I do my makeup differently. So I love the idea. Like my goal is to kind of become a chameleon, and people have told me that I would do best in comedy, because I do a lot of comedy, but I also have had a lot of my most awarded things on things that were dramatic as well. So I hope that I can do both. I like doing both. I like doing a variety. And in fact, one of the reasons that I say often that I want to be a film actor as opposed to a TV actor, which doesn't make any sense because I don't watch any movies and I watch only TV, is that I just don't want to be stuck in one place for too long. Like, I've never had a job that I stuck to for more than, a couple years because it gets really claustrophobic. I like the idea of, I'm admitting it. I'm admitting it like I'm admitting it to a therapist. I like the idea of kind of always being on the edge of my seat with my life, knowing that there's something more exciting on the horizon, knowing that I'm experiencing as much as I can in this life. At this point, I feel like I need 3 lives to do all the things that I want to do. Like I've said, I've maxed out the hours of every day that I have. And I just, wait, what was the question? I've gone so far that I don't actually remember what I was trying to answer.
Well, it was, what is there like a central theme to what, all of your projects?
No.
Or are you
just like
no.
the central theme is well written. Like, when I get a script that, because I read a lot of scripts, I've always annotated for people, given notes and everything like that. I still do that to this day with my friends. I want writing that genuinely makes me laugh or is honest. Not that like we have to write true stories every single time we write a script, but it has to convince me that these are real people, real lines, real talk. That's kind of why I can't watch a lot of movies, because they're at this point, and people can give me recommendations for stuff that break this mold. But in movies, people talk like actors, people talk like characters. There are lines that almost are, for some reason, inevitably recycled every single time, yet we never say them in real life. So I tend to gravitate to things that are well written in that sense, that, they're fresh. They, the characters speak like real people, even in a supernatural setting, even in a scenario that's a little outlandish. I want to believe that these are people that I'm watching. And to be honest, I think a lot of modern shows, especially Netflix shows, have done a really good job with that, making us believe that we could possibly be watching real people. And that's at the base of all the characters, all the kooky stuff that I try to come up with for my characters. It does have to be at a foundation of reality a little bit, at least.
I like that.
Yeah. No, that's
so
absolutely
yeah.
good point.
Obviously, like I'm running out of time because I like to get onto the creation part, and I'd like to talk to you. So if you were to be given like a script to work on something, would you prefer it to be a larger budget like project or a smaller budget to kind of get the grit out of it?
I've never worked on a larger budget project, so can't even relate. But the thing is, and this is what I truly believe, when you are given a bigger budget, you're obviously given a lot more things that you can do with that budget, obviously. But I found that the most intelligent, the scrappiest filmmakers will find ways around, the money aspect to do what they want to do. And I think that's magic in itself. Like, there's no greater magic than a filmmaker who is able to make an adequate and touching movie without even having any kind of budget whatsoever. So I tend to think that, well, I'm going to be an indie producer forever, I think, because when you do climb the ladder and you do get more money, then you have to sacrifice kneeling to the producers and the executives and everything like that. So as long as it is a well-written script, I'm on board. It almost doesn't matter unless like the quality of the production is like, like really questionable. It's like, oh, this isn't going to go anywhere. So.
Yeah, I was very surprised when Dylan, he wrote his first script for us, the initial idea was like, oh, we'll just film this on our phones, we'll figure it out. And it was like, maybe we don't really know exactly everything we should. So we reached out to a couple people, and we found some incredibly talented people that are willing to work on our project for free, just because of the script that Dylan put together. So we got
my God.
we got a great director, Savannah O'Neill.
They're fantastic.
We got a great cinematographer that he came with like cranes and drones and like different props and stuff. A sound guy. There's this editor that reached out to help us out from Chicago, a composer that we know, and literally was like, look, we just have this script for like an 11-minute thing, and it's something that we actually created on this show, and people are like, this is so interesting, I really want to work on this. So yeah, I really agree, and I don't think that if it wasn't for this show, the script that Dylan wrote and the people that we've met on here, I don't think that I would have believed that there are people that just want to create art for art's sake. And that was just so incredible. And looking at like the dailies and looking at like the shots they were taking, I'm like, how is this our world right now? This is so cool. Yeah. So I'm very thankful for independent producers, independent filmmakers. They are a magical people, and even people like you're out there and you're making stuff for the love of making it, and that's beautiful. And that's the reason we want to do it. That's why we do it, because we like.
And that is such a testament to you guys. That somebody was able to see what you've done already, even doing this show, to see that your creativity and your will to work was so strong that they invested their time and their resources into you. And as I was, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying before about doing things myself. One thing that I also did, in DIYing my success till this point, was basically qualifying myself for the people that want to pay me. Because again, we have a lot of these people that want to call themselves writers, call themselves directors and producers, yet they never gave any actual reason for anyone who would invest in them to trust them to do that. They don't have any examples. They don't have like even a catalog. People are like, oh, no one's going to hire me for this stuff. It's like, well, you got to show that you can do it, because there are too many other people out here doing that already. And when I started auditioning, I mean, the Immaculate Reception, which was my Sundance movie, I didn't have a reel up at that point because I had just started acting 9 months prior. So I started auditioning. I got that role 9 months into me film acting at all in my early 20s. And the thing is, though, I had this reel from Rect Radio, and it's the only thing that I was able to shop around. And if you've ever seen that show, it's a green screen. It's me standing in front of it like Joel McHale on The Soup, giving crappy crass jokes about my favorite punkers. But it was able to show so many more things. It was able to show my demeanor on camera, my sense of timing and comedy, my mannerisms, and then above that, my will to self-produce and to that go-getter attitude. So it gives you so much more when you take things into your own hands. And I really do believe that if you do want to make it as far as you think that you can do, you do not wait for anybody, just do it now. I forget what the question is again, but there you go.
I was just saying I appreciate indie filmmakers.
Oh, that's right. I appreciate them too.
No, you're great. Jess Paul, you are boundless energy. You have so much creativity inside of you, and you are gorgeous, and we appreciate you. But now we're going to get into our part of the show, because I got to prove to Dylan why I'm worth his friendship.
No, you don't. You've done that time and time again.
Yes. All right, fine. Okay, so before we get into our pitches, just some people we got to thank real fast. International Broadcast Media Television, thank you so much for having us on there. Thank you for giving me a website link that sends me virtually to my best friend so I can talk to him and throw some stupid ideas, and so I can meet some very creative people like Jess Paul and everyone that I've met and that are well more talented than we are. So thank you. We got Mick Manhattan with Scene Snobs. Thank you for believing us, and thank you for having our show on there. That's super, super cool. Some East Coast people people. We have Tanya Sheck and Sarah Tkachuk, and also Scott Curtis, one of the best interviewers and podcasters out there. If you like being interviewed, why not be interviewed by the best?
Yeah.
Really. The guy asked me questions that I never thought about before, and it was stunning, and I was trying to be funny, and I came off incredibly sincere, and he got the best out of me. So check out Scott Curtis. He is phenomenal. Okay, and thank you to Jess Paul. So please go check out this is
You're welcome.
This is Jess Paul. Jess Paul's art. She makes some incredible stuff, headwear and movies. So that's cool. Okay, Miss Jess Paul. So obviously, this part of the show is where Dylan and I will pitch some ideas to you. And because we don't like to decide anymore, you get to pick and possibly help us
make your own adventure. Yes, I'm all for it.
That's it. Okay, so I have been throwing out this idea for the last couple episodes, and people have not been playing with it for some reason. But I'm going to keep going because I think it's funny. And
let's see if this is the one.
Yeah, this is character based. I know you're a fan of characters, so this will give us an opportunity to create a bunch of weird characters. So I had the idea. I love reality show. Reality TV is one of those things. Dude,
I watch so much reality TV.
I love it. The Challenge is what I'm super into right now. I watch so much reality TV, and I started having this weird idea that it seems like a lot of people want to be on reality TV. A lot of A-listers want to be on reality TV. So I had this idea about a production
this was
team.
Made for me. Oh my God, you guys
that
did
sends
so well.
like A-listers to a remote location to be put onto a reality TV, but in transit, the production quits. So when the reality TV people get there, they think they're still on a show. They don't know what the show is about, and they're living their life as though they're on a show, even though there is no show. They think the cameras are hidden.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I don't really know what that is, but I've been pitching it as being called Back to Reality. So my idea that I would like to work on.
Don't even give me the other idea. This is mine. We're not.
I don't know. Dylan's got something great because he's been winning every week.
Okay, all right, Dylan. You can try to make your face.
I was winning recently, but
back to reality. That's so clever. Okay, Dylan, you've really got a lot to build on top of
I
here.
do.
Bring it, Dylan.
So Zach's idea is very fun, and mine is kind of grim. So this is the idea that at some point in the nearish future, it's probably like a cyberpunk, heavy neon, a lot of rain, a lot of fog. There is a discovery that there's like, when a person is alive, there's like a pearl in like the brainstem, something equivalent is like concentrated like serotonin or something, and you can extract it and then like crush it up and use it for a variety of purposes. So like you brew it in tea and you can experience someone else's memories, or you can do it in various other R-rated drug methods, and it causes other various effects. And there's a recent discovery that there's some way to extract it without killing the victim. But I figured this would be like the story of a kind of like street surgeon cartel that extracts these, and then this is their rise and fall, and we do like a cyberpunk crime story. And I don't know what to call it. I don't know what. I don't have anything for it beyond that pitch, which
it's giving me major Repo vibes. Repo the genetic, a
little bit of Repo,
which I love. So I love it. I love that.
Yeah, some stuff like that, something like that.
That's interesting. Nothing beats grinding up brain matter and snorting that for memory purposes, which sounds pretty surgery. Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, well, honestly, Miss Jess Paul, this is why we had you on here, because I don't want to decide. They're both good ideas. But
they are really both good ideas. But I have to say, I feel like Zach's was particularly made for me, and I think that somebody else would do a lot more with Brain Pearl, in my opinion. So, Dylan, this time I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm going with Back to Reality, and I even love the title. Like, oh my God, do I love like a punny, clever title?
I'm not taking it personally. This gives me a week off, kind of.
Okay.
I know Dylan's.
Well, I'm gonna help. I want to help as much as possible.
Oh, of course.
No, it gives him a week off of like thinking of something else for this week.
Okay.
That again next week.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so back to reality.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't see much in this. It was when I was watching Tropic Thunder and looking at like some behind the scenes of Apocalypse Now and realizing like how bad some filmmakers are and how interested some people are in just becoming celebrities. So I like the idea of taking like Tropic Thunder and then the idea of like that Fire Island mishap and putting
Fire
like
Fest?
the Fire Fest, yeah, and then putting like reality spin on that. So so there's these actors that have to go somewhere remote, and for some reason they just think that the cameras are all hidden, and then they start making a reality show in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So
have you ever seen, or do you guys like Drop Dead Gorgeous? Is that the same? Is it the movie where Kirsten Dunst beauty pageant? Is that what that movie's called?
I've never seen it.
That's giving me those kind of vibes where, oh my God, we're going to have high comedy here. We're going to have lots of scenarios where characters, this is what I love about this kind of stuff too, is that, you know, with the availability of, you know, moving camera, like handheld camera, like and everything, a reality show-esque, that's what it is, right? We're doing kind of like a comedy spin on a faux reality show, like, you know, Office. Yeah. Oh God, I love it so much. So we're diving into that territory, and okay, let's get back into it. That was just my insert.
No, yeah, I love it. I think this is a very a witty way of writing a comedy. I think if it's done right. Dylan, yes. Do you see this kind of setting to be a series or like a movie, like a one-off? Like this is just a joke.
I could see it going either way, but I kind of like the idea of doing this as a series, even if it's like
an actual reality show series.
If it's a limited one, because at some point the facade needs to drop. Like at some point, someone needs to realize, wait, so-and-so, we scheduled him for a shoot. Where is he? It's like, it says he's working on Back to Reality. It's like, we canceled that show 6 months ago. What are you talking about? It's like, and then they have that moment where they're just like, call Stevens. And then they scramble to like get in touch with these people. And then they realize like, oh no, we left a dozen people in the middle of nowhere with no supplies, and they're probably all dead. Yeah. And then of course they're not, presumably.
No,
they're all working. So. They're all doing this reality show.
They're all doing work.
Hustling. Yeah. Yeah, they so I like the idea of like the reality shows like Survivor, like Naked and Afraid, or like Alone, where you are put somewhere where you're like, I guess this is where my shelter needs to be. So if we set it around that, then obviously I would assume, and Jess Paul, you are a celebrity and you like reality TV, so I would assume that you understand the fundamentals of most reality TV, like right? If you know Survivor, it's okay, cool. So
I watched too many.
I got you beat. I can guarantee it. Okay, so let's just say, that we build this around, what do you think, like 8 characters? Do you think that's fair? Or is that too many?
I think 8 is good because it's 4 teams of 2 teams, but they're all, I don't know how Survivor is built.
I'm not saying Survivor-esque.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, is there? If you're lucky. No, so I was thinking more just like, desolate area. They don't have anything. They have to build their
this is my major question, the first question that I need answered before we go forward. Who is actually filming this faux reality show? Like who's being the window into what we're seeing, because they are talking to camera, right? So is it the crew? Like is there crew there?
What I assumed that, based on Zach's description, I assumed this was kind of like a group Survivor Man, where they give a bunch of people cameras and they're like, you guys are going to go survive in the woods. We're going to be
like the first movie I produced.
We're going to be just over the hill. We're going to be just over the hill, so we're not so far away, but only call us in an emergency. And they're like,
okay, got it. So they're all filming each other.
Yeah, maybe there's some fitness guy who's like, yo, we are not calling in help. We're going to do this, and then that's why they don't reach out when things start going badly,
right? And they think that there's hidden cameras in certain places, so they have to like act like they're being good people, and that they have to act like they're doing things, although outside the handheld cameras there's really nothing there. And then they even do like even fake confessionals, because like, oh, look at how this tree's set up, this is obviously our confessional, so I guess we'll just start doing confessionals. I don't really know, because I think that a lot of celebrities, especially like higher up celebrities, and I don't know why I think this, but I would think that they have a hard time telling people that they don't know. So they would just keep rolling with things. Maybe being like, this is probably how it's going to go. But I also think that it's who is in this. So Dylan, what are some celebrities, or even Jess Paul, what are some celebrities that would do a show like this where they would be told that they're going to be out in the wild, but for more, I guess like style of celebrity.
I
So
mean,
you
they
always
have to
like,
be B and C celebrities hanging on to hope for their career for sure.
There's a bunch of B and C, but I think there's one A-lister as like they're the audience draw. And Zach, this is kind of for us. I'm saying we make a copycat of Joe Rogan. So there's a fitness bro who's out there in the woods doing workout routines with like fallen logs, or like he fashions a set of dumbbells. He's like gotta be fit to survive, and he's got like a bunch of rocks on a branch, and he's doing lifts.
Yeah, so there's a fitness person. There's probably a fashion person, right? If you think about all like types of media and celebrity, there's going to be like just a regular actor.
The heiress's younger sibling.
Oh my God, yes.
Because they're not the heiress, they're the younger sibling, so they've got something to prove.
Yeah. Who else do you want to see on this show?
Do we have like like just a boring normal guy, like someone who is kind of like the straight man, but to the point where they become a joke? Like, I'm thinking Nathan Fielder, if Nathan Fielder was sincere.
Who's Nathan Fielder?
He's from Nathan For You. He did Dumb Starbucks. Oh, no. Zach, I gotta. We'll
I've
talk
seen the
about
billboards
this.
for Nathan For You.
It's he does social engineering weirdness. Like he opened up Dumb Starbucks next door to a Starbucks and copycatted Starbucks like 100%. He's very strange. Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right, I'm into that. And then the A-lister, I would assume, is probably like an ex-A-lister who needs to kind of get back into.
They have a movie coming up, and this is part of their marketing.
Or there could be a major plot point where a bunch of the non-A-listers realize he's getting paid so much more to do this show, when actually none of them are getting paid because the show's not happening. But
yeah, I love that. Okay, so where do you think this place is set? Where would they go in the world where they would not be able to get back from?
I'm think it probably needs to be hospitable to being outside. So somewhere in like California wood, like the redwoods, or like I'm thinking somewhere in the woods. I'm thinking heavily forested, and I'm thinking somewhere that doesn't experience really dramatic weather changes.
In order to survive it.
Yeah, or like an island off of Hawaii.
When you said Fire Island, I was like, oh my God, Fire Island all the way. Or something
I like an island.
I like an island as well.
Yeah, so like a tiny little, maybe like one of those small Hawaiian islands.
Yeah, it's set on a forested island somewhere.
Exist.
Yeah.
Okay.
You run into anybody, those people on the island pretend not to speak English, but in reality, they're all there, and they're just letting these people suffer.
Oh, I love that.
Knowing that there is supposed to be a reality show there, and not wanting to give into any of the actual
is the crew posing as the inhabitants of the island? Well, no, because there is no crew, I guess.
No crew.
But,
they don't show up. That's fine.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, there was, say like the producers were like, hey, look, we'll send a plane for you, and all these people are like, no, we'll get our own way there. Like, we're not going to deal with that, whatever. And that's why they don't know that the production is shut down, and they immediately just think.
I figured they would be taken to the island as part of the show, and then the plane leaves as part of this plane, our teams are dropped off on the island and their plane won't return for 6 months while they survive. And then production shut down and they just lose track of time.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm into that. I think that's funny.
Yeah. I don't have
so
I'm just making noise.
No, I know. I like it's usually pretty apt noises. Okay, so we have our celebrities, most of them. We still need probably two more. Now they get dropped off on a Hawaiian island, and the fitness one, who is probably the biggest pushover, is like, we need to build a structure. We just got to get this going. And before even the team is like, are we sure this is going on? And they just start, right? Does that seem like that's a funny way to get this going?
So when I think about these celebrities, one of the biggest draws for like, getting the story going is their contracts and everything, because they're getting paid for this. They're getting exposure because they don't have as much to start with. So I believe that a lot of them would almost start fabricating the drama that you see on usual shows because they know how it all works. So,
cool.
off the bat, these people might make friends and alliances, but also start gossiping about the other members that are on the island. And really, because celebrities know how these shows work. So we're really going to see both the underlayers of a reality show and how the actual celebrities that are on them or the participants will actually try to conduct themselves.
I like the idea that they land and one of them tries to immediately take charge by like establishing a structure or a shelter.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are just like, this is not a good location for it. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like,
well, I
point up and there's like a
like,
wasp nest or something.
I thought the tide was going to come in like at 6 p.m. and just like first day, it just wipes out the hut.
They do a beach house and the tide sweeps it away that first night.
I also like Jess's idea that they immediately start getting into alliances and like starting like, we probably need to vote these people out. And even though no one knows what kind of show this is, what they're doing on the show, they're just like just assuming. So I like the idea of alliances. I like the idea of starting the drama by talking about how much this A-lister got paid. So I think that's great. I do like the idea of production dropping them off. That way they have the cameras and stuff. Because I like them having their own handheld cameras, which would make them think that it's more of a reality show too. So I think that's cool. Okay, so what are some other things, Dylan, that you think they would start hopping into? Wait
a minute. I have an idea about that because I'm really trying to qualify how that all makes sense, because that's what I try to do. I'm like, okay, how would someone believe that this whole thing was together? So what if, okay, this will put a whole twist on it. I might be jumping to the end here, but what if the whole twist about how this reality show, how they actually got themselves on the island despite it being canceled, was that a rogue PA or somebody lower down the totem pole kind of knew that it was canceled because of funds, pandemic, whatever, but they actually try to facilitate this as their own experiment to see like what these people would actually do. And that's how they kind of get there, because that PA facilitates the transportation, some of that equipment, and it's basically his own mastermind. And that's kind of like the twist we have in the end, while all the comedy pursues beforehand and we see what actually does roll out. What do you think about that, guys?
I like that. I like it getting canceled, and then the PA is like, I'll take care of getting them back, and then just doesn't. They're like,
well, I actually kind of like the whole idea where like the PA gets fired and knows that this is supposed to go down and is like, ooh, I'm going to do this on my own to prove to these execs that I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
And to my own show.
Because again, like, how do you get these people onto this island? Because I mean, realistically, they're going to have to get there somehow. So if that PA or that, like, whatever you would call it, like maybe he's like maybe one of the co-producers, and he's the person that was supposed to email everybody, but he just doesn't email them that it's canceled and just goes on with the plan anyways.
Yeah.
Make his own show.
I like that a lot.
Make his own show. Yep. God. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And that's a really good twist for the end, too. Because then there's the reveal. Okay, cool. So we have these people on the show. They all have handheld cameras. They think that they're being filmed. They don't know why this is a show or what the show is about, just that it is a new form of reality show.
They can even have a little bit of the structure, and then kind of make up their own rules and as it goes along. Yeah. And then, they're probably, besides like the gossip and slander against each other, they're also fighting about the rules of the actual show and how they go about it. Like that can all really be wrapped into all the conversation that they have in a really fun way.
I like that. What if at the start they're told like, this is both reality show and social experiment about society. And that way they have like,
the psychology aspect.
They said this was an experiment about society. Are we supposed to build our own society? And then I wonder if Zach, I don't know what your vision is, but I'm wondering if I'm going a little bit more slapstick on this.
I'm imagining some slapsticky stuff.
Yeah.
No, I see
like really broadly comedic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see this being very, very tongue-in-cheek, very some A-listers have never, lived this style of life before. They're breaking themselves down. I see this being very funny. Yeah, I can definitely see slapstick. Now, what kind of A-lister is on there that gets all of the money?
Maybe maybe possibly a past Academy Award winner who never, there's I don't know if you guys have to know about like the Academy Award winning curse. I don't know if it's an actress thing, but like they get an Academy Award and then never do good roles for like the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So one of those guys that like, was on the top of the world for like a second and then like, oh, he hasn't made a movie in a little bit. So
they want it for their first starring role and have never
gotten good
one
reviews. Of those young ones. Yeah.
Or is it somebody with a scandal that's trying to come back into
separate characters?
I think I was going to say the other characters can definitely have their own scandals. I think everybody should have their own reason for basically trying to redeem themselves in this show.
Yeah,
their own reasons for doing this. And I wanted to pipe in too. Like, I actually, this is so funny that you did bring this up because I have been fabricating a couple of meta reality shows. Like for my own writing recently. I don't tell anybody about them because, I don't want anyone to steal my ideas, whatever. And you guys just put all your ideas out there. But one thing that I really love about all the movies, and it really puts me in a hole when I write, because it's expensive, especially with like Jesse's Girl. I like to incorporate a lot of existing pop culture, or at least try to like adhere some like fake versions of the pop culture that we know, so that you don't have to pay for a song or something or a name. But I really like the idea that on this reality show, it's very meta, very aware of other reality shows, and like when they do talk about this stuff and do kind of develop that, they kind of talk about kind of and play with some of the conventions of reality shows as well. That's a broad statement to make, but I want to focus on that if we can too. That would be fun.
I like that. Like they're talking to each other about what style of show this is. Like, this is like a Survivor.
Because something that I don't care for in a lot of movies, and it's like how many zombie movies are we going to watch before people talk about knowing what zombies are? Like they've been around for like decades now. Like we know how this works. Like why doesn't anyone in any of these movies reflect our actual reality? That movies exist,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Character idea. Washed up musician.
Oh,
rock star or
somebody
a
has to
rapper.
be there with a guitar ruining every single campfire.
Yep, love that.
That's great.
Okay, so some of the people on here think that this is a Survivor style show where they need to like build their sets and everything. Some people on here think that it is like the challenge where they're going to go to a very big elaborate house and live real world style. So there's really no true idea.
And other people thinking it's Love Island and they're all having sex with each other. Oh,
yep. And then Johnny Depp's on there and he's just like, I just want people to like me again. I don't really care.
They offered me a position and I didn't read the contract.
Yeah, but I brought wine. So
one thing I've always wanted to see in a reality show parody is somebody actually sit there, like after everybody talks shit on all of the people they've already, that they have already met, and they go, and then it finally cuts to one of the really well-meaning like actresses that just goes, "Yeah, I just came here to make friends."
Yep. Every single episode of reality TV, people are always like, "I'm not here to make friends.
I'm not here to make friends.
I'm not here to make friends."
Yeah,
I'm just friends.
Okay, so they start off, and what do you think they divide into teams? Is that what they would do, or
I don't think so. I think they struggle for who like the leader is.
Yes, and I really do see a lot of alliances and enemy team, like kind of like being created there in the initial. Like I think that's kind of what naturally would happen in that scenario, anyways, and like both with celebrities and if like you're trying to figure out how a reality show works. So
I agree.
If we do 8 characters and we have 7 right now, we can have them start off just trying to figure out what kind of show this is, and then at some point they're like, "Fine, I'm starting my own team over here," and we break into 4 and 4. But they don't go very far because they don't know what's going on. So they just kind of like settle on opposite ends of a beach, and they're like, "Hey,
one fire.
Hey, stop moving the line. We drew that line last night." He's like, "I'm shifting it over so it's fair," and they're like wiping it off the sand.
Yeah, I love that. And to rip off of that, even I feel like, and I'm talking more about thematics than actual plot points, but like on top of that, like if we keep going to the cameras and we add a little bit of post editing into it, where like you see different names of reality shows and different styles of filming pop up, you know, as well when they're trying to, again, establish what kind of reality show it is, so that a couple different teams are literally doing all different kinds of reality shows. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that if maybe, do you think there's anything in the idea of like having the people sit down maybe the first night and be like, apparently what we're doing is creating a new reality show. We have to come up with our own rules. And like some are like, no. And then when they break apart, like Dylan said, then the one team's like, I think we should start voting people off. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, to who?
Yeah, to where?
Yeah,
I like
what?
I like the idea that the first night they all sit down together and they're like, so what are we doing? What's up, guys? My name is Billy Westerman. I'm a country western musician, and
I know you guys have probably heard about me, but I had that scandal where I said the N-word back then. But you know, I'm a changed person.
Yeah, I also brought my mouth harp. Bang, 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 bang. Oh God!
You're the worst.
Your song "Love Is a Party" just was the defining song of my high school years.
Yeah. Totally blurs the line of country and EDM. Loved it.
Oh my God.
Okay, so night one, the 8 people sit down and they try to talk about what kind of show they're going to create, since nobody really told them what was going on, and they all have their favorite reality shows. We mentioned a lot of different kind of reality shows, and that's when the two factions start forming, where one group thinks that it's more survivor based and they have to start building their structure, and the other group thinks maybe it's more what's like another style of show. Do you think Naked and Afraid kind of works?
I think Survivor, man. I think someone is like, they dropped us off here and we have to survive, and he like,
oh, okay, cool,
pulls out like a massive knife, and it's like, how in the world did you get that on the airplane? It's like,
yeah. So half of the group thinks that it's Survivor style, where they got to sit there and do challenges and then vote somebody off. The other half thinks that it is similar to Survivor Man, where they have to get to a certain destination by a certain time to be pulled out, and then there's fighting whether they should leave the camp that they built or stay there and wait for challenges or the host that will never show up. Right? Is that seem kind of funny?
Yeah.
All right, so then we get to like day 2.
Just in my brain, like I'm like thinking, like, you know, even if the movie here like even starts with more than what do we have, like 8 people, but it pares down after a while, after people start dying, and like oh my God, people are dying in this thing, you know, for real, instead of getting voted off. And that could really like, you know, that could be, because when I think about the reality shows I actually watch a lot of competition reality, skill-based competition reality, like Ink Master and Face Off. I love those kinds of things. So you know, to turn it, to eventually maybe turn it into that kind of parody, we could start knocking people off.
Do the first one who dies and then really dies, do they just like, I guess it's the end of, we've been here for like a week, I vote off Billy. And they all vote him off, and then he's like, what am I supposed to do? It's like, I don't know, get out. And then he walks off into the wilderness and like, gets eaten or falls off a cliff or something.
Or he actually finds like some kind of society and is fine. Like,
yeah, he actually finds a boat and gets out of there.
The very first.
Oh my God, that would be great.
Yeah.
What if the first person that actually ends up leaving,
is the one who survives? Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of comes back and just like, what? Whoa. I guess I win.
Yeah, he comes back and he's like, oh man, I can't believe that I was on that show. To go, that show was canceled. What are you talking about? And he's like, what? There's still 7 other people there.
He publishes a book, an autobiography about it, which gets adapted, and he wins an Academy Award for starring in the adaptation. God.
Oh,
that's the end irony.
I love that.
In the computer. My brain's not on empty, but my computer is.
All right, Dylan, where we got to go from here?
I think we need a few more beats, just in general. We don't have to be anything specific. We just need to fill in a bunch of these blanks.
I mean, we definitely have to have some hookups for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously some hookups. We also have to. Okay, so the first night they're there, they don't really know what's going on. There's a lot of fighting. That's when they have the sit down thing and the alliances form. The second night is when they try to decide on what show they're going to mimic, and there's division. And then for some reason they vote one person off, and that person just wanders into safety. Now, yeah. Now, let's say that we start with 12 people, right? And most of these people don't really need to be.
Not right now.
Yet.
Yeah.
Right. Because if one person maybe goes away pretty immediately, right? Like they just get washed into the ocean or something.
When the house gets swept away in the middle of the night, it's like, where were they? I think they were sleeping in they built that house. Where's the house?
Yeah. And then the rest of them are like, wow, there's a production value of this show is pretty high. They're just getting rid of people. And they'll go, okay, so maybe we should get out of here. I do like them maybe at some point deciding that they need to trek through the island as like a team, maybe. Because if we go through all the tropes of different genres of reality TV, I think that's pretty funny. Dylan, what is a reality show that you watch?
Forged in Fire, kind of.
I love Forged in Fire.
We watched the first episode of that Netflix reality show. You remember that one?
Which one?
No.
Is that where there was the fee? There was the fine for hooking up.
Oh my God! What show is that?
What was the show? Too Hot to Handle or something?
Too Hot to Handle, I think is what it was
called.
It was.
Wait, was that the one?
Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah,
it was on Netflix. They start off.
Am I imagining the poster where a guy is crawling on the beach after a girl, or like, is that? Am I remembering that?
No, I think you're right. And like, if they do like, if they kiss, they lose like $1,000. If they like do more stuff,
fun.
Yeah, that was a terrible show.
It was. I saw the one episode. I don't watch a whole lot of reality TV.
I do. I binged that.
I know you
Once
do.
You left, Dylan, I know you did through that season.
You went through every episode.
Oh God, I'm such a sucker for reality TV. Okay, so
see, this is the thing. That's where you really see people act like people. I know everybody's putting on a front and they're trying to play up their own character, but it's not scripted line for line. You know, you're seeing how real people react, how defensive people can be when they are wronged, and because that's what people really do. And that's why I think it's so fun.
Yeah, I love it. Like when you watch MTV Challenge, you're like, these people just work on their bodies. They're so insecure, and then they get a little bit of alcohol in them, and they got to fight because they don't want to be looked at as, whatever.
TV
no, I think I love it. Okay, so they build a shelter. That thing goes away. Maybe a couple people perish. They decide to trek it through the wilderness, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they decide that they're probably on some sort of cooking show. So maybe they got to find weird things to try to cook. I'm trying to think of like other things that they would think this is probably what we would like to do.
At some point, would it make sense for the facade to kind of fall away where they're like, someone goes like, guys, I don't think anybody knows we're here anymore, or something like after maybe someone dies like in front of them and they're like,
no EMTs, no one coming out. Yeah.
They're calling for help. Like one of them smuggled a cell phone in or something. And they're like, I don't have any service. 911, nothing. Like, guys, I don't know if we're actually on a show. So at some point, I think the facade needs to fall. And then what?
Well, so they could try to escape, right? They could like build some sort of device to get them off of the island. But also, we do have this rogue PA / bad producer person needs to come back into play. They got to work back into this. So,
maybe he actually did set up some of the cameras because again, I'm thinking technically here, and like there are cameras, but again, it's not connected to the real show. Maybe,
maybe he's watching all this behind the scenes, like, oh, this is gold, and then once that one person dies on camera, and he's like, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do. And that's when like the facade breaks and he comes out and he goes, hey guys, listen, this was an experiment. I don't know. I don't have any more funding. We're kind of stuck out here. And then that guy joins the show.
He's on the island?
Yeah. Is he on the island?
I assume he's back in the studio doing everything remotely.
Well, I mean, if he brings them there and he whatever,
Is he-
I would assume he could be there.
He uses his personal boat and he just parks it offshore.
Yeah, we can do that.
Sure. This PA has his own media yacht. I'm cool with that. Okay, so then what happens? So does he watches somebody die and then has to break, or do the people on the show realize that it's not real and they break?
I like the idea that he watches someone die and he goes on shore to like tell them what's up, and he's like, "Hey, this went too far. Let's get on my boat." And in the background, you can see like the fitness bro or something like climb onto the boat and start trying to pilot it, and just completely runs it aground. Like he's trying to steal the boat and then strands everybody on there for real.
Yep, I love that.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, and then what can we do?
All over again.
Okay, so now we just have a bunch of people. They know that it's fake. They don't have a way out anymore. What are they going to do?
I mean, this is the point where it kind of dissolves into chaos, and everybody kind of, I think, starts to be really out for themselves. Well, honestly, I mean, it probably does play out more like a show, a competition, because they are trying to fend for themselves now for realsies. You know, the gossip is over, and now they're really trying to either escape or
the person who got voted off first and wound up escaping comes back with rescue as things are like dissolving into chaos. Like, I think if the first person to get voted off and die is the one to come back and get him, and he comes back and it's like Lord of the Flies,
okay,
then it's like
that's a good ending.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the chaos in between.
I like that. That's how the show wraps up. As this person comes back, the first Willie Countryman or whatever his name was, he goes and gets help and comes back. That's a great ending. I like when it starts going down into straight chaos because they're all privileged, I would assume, so they don't really have. Maybe not all of them have like technical skills that's going to help them. They think that people are going to die. They know they're not on a show anymore. They can't get in touch with their producers or publicists, so they're kind of freaking out. Social media is not helping them whatsoever. And but I also like the idea of maybe two of the people still thinking that the show's real and just kind of still going along with it.
Yeah, I think that would be funny.
Yeah, and
you don't know how many layers there are to this thing, man. There's like he's a conspiracy theorist or something, or like a conspiracy podcaster or something.
Yeah. And then maybe like the producer guy ends up hooking up with somebody, because there's got to be like the hookups, you know, that's got to happen.
There have to be.
Yeah. All right, cool. So,
but the thing is, and then again, I'm thinking technically too, like when the facade breaks down, are they still vlogging? You know, are they still recording their reactions? Like
some of them are.
Yeah. We're gonna have to see it somehow.
I like it that they're all like, so it's not even a reality show. It turns out I'm just talking to this camera for no reason. I think that's really cool. But I think this maybe works as a standalone film now that like the beats kind of work.
It does.
I don't really see this having the duration of a series just yet. But I like it being a compressed film about the downside of reality TV. I think that's cool.
Here, let me ask your guys' opinion. Do you think that any premise can be stretched to a series and truncated to a movie? Like any? You think it's possible? Like that's how storytelling works.
Yeah, and it can be really. I mean, because all a story is an arc, right?
Yeah.
So if you could fill a lot of the filler stuff in with something interesting, you definitely can be. But a lot of times, it does just feel lengthy. You know, what do you think, Dylan?
It needs to be really well done. You need to put a lot of care into making sure that your filler doesn't come across as filler. Because I think people realize it. I mean, given time, we'd be able to stretch this into a series. It's just a matter of time to develop it.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Yeah, the problem with like, you know, the movie or the solo story is, for the most part, you have the linear arc. Everyone goes into something, out of something. Whereas
you can
a
see
series,
that mountain. Yeah.
Right. And a series is like, boom, boom. It's like a bunch of little humps because you got to have the series itself make arcs.
Yeah.
So it is harder. And I think that we're seeing that with like WandaVision, where WandaVision seemed like a movie that was broke down into a series, and you're like, this almost doesn't flow right. There's something a little bit off about it, because it was, I think, a linear idea that was forced into a series. Whereas I think Falcon and Winter Soldier, you can see that it was built as episodic, so it has that structural arc that's right.
Well, I think Disney in particular is very, very hesitant to break their formula, even when they're changing medium. Like, what works for a movie pacing-wise doesn't necessarily work for a TV series, and that includes where you put your beats. Like,
true.
WandaVision felt a little... It was a little herky-jerky on that, and I think by virtue of being an action series, Falcon and Winter Soldier is avoiding that a little better. But I mean, I think if you're willing to admit to the difference in format and work with it, because as a writer, you need to roll with the punches of what you're handed to you. And I direct that towards J.J. Abrams because I know he's watching, you hack. No, you got to roll with the punches. You can't just be like, this is what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. You have to be like, all right. Now I'm talking about like what to do if you establish a series. But if you're adapting something from a movie into a series, you have to be able to be like, well, I like this from the original. How can I make it work in a longer format?
Right. But there are some times that we write something and it's like, look, this is only a series. I don't think that we can put this into a one solo thing, just because it's almost like this is someone's life, which has to feel repetitive. So, one of the first things that we always try to figure out is like, what kind of story is this? And first, it does make sense for this to be a series, because I can see it in my brain is like tuning in to a couple different weeks and seeing how this goes. But once you start breaking it down, it's like one concise storyline might be the most efficient way of hitting all these jokes properly. It's just keeping it all together.
And I think there's something to be said for not trying to wear out the welcome, or like not trying to wear the joke thin. If you go too long on a certain premise, sometimes no matter what you put in there, you're like, all right, they're doing a fake game. They're doing a fake reality show thing. Yeah, we get it. Come on, get over it.
Yeah.
So
and you can see this sometimes with documentary series where like there's a documentary that's a solid 2-hour documentary.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Netflix puts it into 6 episodes, and you're like, I feel like I'm retreading a lot of the same ground. Like I already know this stuff. So that is one of the things that Dylan and I really work against is like, if we're going to put it in a series, how do you keep it fresh every single time so people are interested?
Well, isn't it so interesting with the development of the like Netflix 10-episode limited series, like how we've kind of gotten used to that. And then you go and you watch a network television show for the first time in a while, and you're like, damn, they got 24 episodes out of these characters. How did they do that? And a lot of it, like, because I'm watching SVU right now. I binge Supernatural, and it's like binging a show really opens your mind up to a lot of how these shows work, because it's so truncated. You're binging it, you're seeing these things, and like, did you guys ever watch Supernatural?
Yeah.
Like it's like, damn it. Why won't they just stop lying to each other? If the boys would just tell each other everything every single season. They did this for every season. They just would not tell each other everything. And then it would just always, that's all they ever needed to do. And they would find new ways and new reasons for them to avoid telling each other the truth about something instead of working together.
The interesting thing about SVU and Supernatural and that style of show is that they are effectively monster of the week shows. And that's where all of their longevity comes from. And you notice it in the personal conflict where it's like, Stabler, man, get a grip. You got to calm down, buddy. You're being suspended for like the 5th time this season.
Right.
It's episode, oh my God, it's episode 13 and you're on suspension for the 4th time. Like, man, come on. And then eventually, after like 2 or 3 seasons, they decide, the status quo needs to be shaken up a little bit. And then,
and it's kind of the same thing that happened.
Dean dies or something like that. Spoiler alert.
Dies again.
Again, yeah.
Again, yeah.
Or Stabler
but it's kind of the same thing that happens. Yeah. It's like with Lost. Like a Lost, it's like, okay, you have this very cool idea for a series. It works. But then by like season 3 or season 4, you're trying to extend it. So you're trying to build in a fake storyline so that I can keep the repetition and keep it poetic. But then you got to just rely on your character development. And that's where everything just goes bad.
And compare that to shows like Maniac on Netflix, which is effectively, I love it. it's an 8-hour long movie because it is
Great.
heavily serialized
Beautiful.
where each episode directly leads into each other, and they deal with a constantly advancing condition of the world.
Do
It's
I hear
not-
a recommendation? I'm
Yeah,
gonna watch
100%.
it.
Yeah, watch Maniac.
Maniac is
don't-
very good.
Yeah, you don't need to watch the original content though. It's not as high thought. It's
What do you
it's
mean
a cooler
original content?
So Maniac was originally it's off of like an old Swedish show that came out a
Oh,
couple
got
years
it.
ago, and
Got
then
it.
it got adapted by Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. It is
Oh,
phenomenal.
yes.
Justin
Okay.
Theroux. It's very
And Justin
good.
Theroux, yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
Dylan, we're out of time, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm very sorry.
No need to
so-
apologize. This is what we do.
Yeah, I love this. Miss Jess Paul, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for being
Thank
one
you
of
for having
my
me.
Oh, yeah.
favorite guests on here. So
Yeah.
cool. We absolutely love when people.
Where's my trophy?
I love it. I'll send it to you. It will look very similar to an Expo marker.
Oh, good.
It'll
That's all I
be
need.
gold,
then.
yeah. It'll be a gold Expo marker. But Miss Jess Paul, will you please one last time tell people where they can find you, where they can buy your T-shirts or your
I do.
your
I actually am selling T-shirts. I am
Yeah.
selling T-shirts. It's on.
Give it to me.
This is Jess Paul. .threadless.com. Get a
Okay.
Rec Radio T-shirt. Get some of my God, nothing's in reach of me right now. But yeah, I honestly, Jess Paul, I am the first thing that comes up. I'm at least proud of that I'm on the first page of Google under my pretty short and common name. So
Yeah.
if I can toot my own horn.
Yeah. And I
Right
will say
on.
that if you go to Jess Paul's IMDb page, her photos are so aggressively different and so
Oh yes,
just,
thank you.
what a beautiful collaboration of photos for somebody.
Yeah.
I was looking, I was like, wow, this is really cool. You go
I'm
to
like-
anybody else like this.
I'm like,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
one am
so-
I using? I
Yeah.
guess I'm just using the main one. Yeah.
But either way, Jess, you have been so great. And
Oh.
thank you so much for hanging out. We love creators. We love anybody who likes to think outside the box and just wants to create some stuff. And as you can see, we made this weird thing, which we're calling Back to Reality. And
I think that's
about
a
bunch
great
of-
start. Yeah.
I love it. I'm into it. We'll probably work on this soon. And if you don't
Oh, yeah.
know, we do a live version of this on Twitch every single Tuesday where we're trying to develop the stories more, break it down, and actually get the plot points so we can get to a script that we could do a reading of. But while we are out of time, once again, please go visit. This is Jess Paul. She is amazing. She's very talented writer, producer. She even makes fake cupcakes that you want to eat. You probably can't. You could. I don't care. It's up to you. You
You
probably
can try.
shouldn't. You could definitely try.
Do not
But
sue
if you
me.
wanna see-
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
everything's
Do not-
edible if you believe in yourself.
Do not sue Jess Paul if I said that, please. Also, don't sue me. It's whatever. But you can see all of our stuff over at somenobodies.com. We have a movie coming out soon. It's called Give Me Back. You can find it on IMDb. We are in post-production. We do have a GoFundMe so we can give some money to our amazing people who did help us, like we were talking about earlier. You can go check that out. We have a Patreon. Blah, 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 blah. We love you guys so much. Thank you for spending any time with us. I love attention. I am
Thank
an
you.
attention
Me
hog.
too. Me
Yeah,
too.
thank
Me
you,
too.
thank
No
you,
me,
thank
no
you.
me, no me.
I think it's me. I do this every week, Jess Paul. You do this very rarely now. Anyway, I have been Zach. He's been Dylan. You have been great. She's been Jess Paul. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Until next time, be well.
Bye.
Thank you.